to 12:20. There are representatives from all student groups that will be there, along with myself and Mr. Avila. The Student Wellness Committee just filmed their video on how and why to respect dairy products in bathrooms and finish their stress check-in form. They're hoping to finalize both next meeting and then send them out to older grades. They're also hoping to do a school-wide announcement about mental health awareness during the month of January. A few student updates. The bathroom policy will soon be changed to a paper sign-out, and the grades that are currently going to the bathroom during the science time will slowly veer away from that and back to individual autonomy. The backpack policy is going to be discussed at the student voice meeting this Friday. We will have ideas of alterations for that policy next meeting. The lunch policy will be brought back to normal for middle school students, meaning they will be able to sit wherever they would like, and younger grades will sit in homeworks. The tardy policy is being permanently canceled after much confusion and pushback from the student and school community. The single-stall bathroom in the third floor old building, the 7th 8th hallway, is going back to a gender-neutral bathroom, but is also open for staff to use too. And a Peirce winter sports update. The 7th 8th girls basketball team is currently 2-1. Their next game is at 1 p.m. at Sen High School against Ravenswood. The 7th 8th boys basketball team is currently 3-0. Their next game is at 12 o'clock p.m. at Sen High School against Ravenswood. The 5th 6th girls basketball team and the 5th 6th boys basketball team just held trials and will be starting their games soon. The Peirce cheerleaders are rocking it on the sidelines, and the competition team is currently working on their routine for their competition on February 14th, 2026 at the UNC Forum. Come cheer them on. Let's go Panthers.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, our next item on the agenda is our principal's report.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday break. I have our principal's report. I'll provide it in the packet on the top. And also the supporting documents as I'm going through my report, I will reference to when we get to that part of the meeting. Everyone's very familiar with our mission and vision statement. I'm going to start off with some Peirce happenings. So from the teacher staff perspective, winter concert, absolutely amazing. And I want to give a big shout out to Ms. Moritz and Ms. Thompson for their hard work in bringing such a wonderful event to fruition. It was an amazing event, and I applaud them for their efforts and everyone that was involved, all the teachers, and most importantly, the students that, want to applaud their efforts. As you know, the deadline for LSC elections is coming up as well. We keep promoting, LSC elections to all stakeholders, staff, and I'll get to that part for the student part. We keep promoting to teachers, to our parent and community representatives as well. I did share in the last meeting that I shared with the Alderman's office the flyer, to promote community involvement for the LSC. A couple of updates for parents and community. Special education information session 2. There was an information session at the beginning of the school year. We're going to schedule to have another one. It is currently scheduled for February 3rd at 8 a.m. The purpose for the informational session is to educate parents, again, on the happenings in special education at Peirce. Revisiting the referral process, just as a refresher, if any parents, are curious about how the referral process works, giving them a refresher on that. Our 2 case managers and myself will be present for that. Also, just discussing IEPs, 504 plans, continuum of services and inclusion. What if students are struggling, and the child doesn't have a 504 or IEP. That's, going to be the purpose is to educate parents to, this is what the steps that would be taken, if you have a concern. And also Q&A as well. We also have our equity forum coming up. As a school community, we want to remain committed to strengthening our collective efficacy to improve our school culture. One way, the focal point is restorative practices. So in February 18th, which that date might be subject to change, might be changing, so we'll keep you informed on that. We are going to be holding the equity forum from 5:30 to 7 o'clock, and during the session, we're going to be taking a deep dive into experiencing restorative practices, exploring how to support belong, accountability, positive relationships. So it's not going to be not so much an informational, it's going to be very hands-on. It's going to be a deep experience for participants. Moving on to student recognition and events, again, a shout out to the students. I did take some pictures and I did link the pictures in there, you know, for you to view. We also, this past Friday, had our MYP learning celebrations, a lot of wonderful work happening. Again, share that as well, and the link there is for you to view. We also on January 7th celebrated our student of the month. So as you're familiar, each month classrooms will choose a student to be celebrated as a student of the month. Want to take that time to recognize students' efforts, students that go above and beyond, who show kindness, work hard, and make positive choices, and to represent what it means to be a Peirce Panther. Our LSC student elections, you know, it correlates with our LSC elections. To give an update, this morning, our wonderful LSC student representative, CC, made an announcement to the school, you know, again, encouraging participation in the upcoming LSC student elections. So we received guidance from the district, you know, to make 2 public service announcements. The first took place today, and we'll make another public service announcement in February prior to the forum for students. Again, you know, I want to, you know, shout out to Cece, you know, for her active role in civic engagement, taking on this role as an LSC student ambassador. I applaud that, and, you know, my dream is to have continue that, you know, beyond Cece's time, but also the rising of new student leaders. You know, I really want to see that, you know, within our school. Jumping into the report, into the main one, organizational leadership, a professional learning plan. So we are continuing, you know, to create professional development planning, catered around our CIWP priorities, while being forward thinking, especially in lieu of the upcoming CIWP writing cycle and best practices. We want to see how, you know, obviously want to finish our current CIWP cycle in a strong foot and be able to see, you know, what would be good next steps for our new CIWP. With this new cycle that's upcoming, I did want to announce that there were some updates to the start of the cycle. Originally, it was going to be this week, the start of the opening cycle, but that was misstated. It's now, the platform is being, you know, remedied and set up for it to begin the week of January 26th. So that was why parents received this week an updated, you know, if they were interested, I extended it to be able to open it up to parents an additional week. So I'll be reaching out to parents for anyone involved, and obviously reaching out to staff members, you know, from ILT perspective, especially students on ILT and other staff to be a part of the CIWP team. Our ILT continues to meet regularly to monitor the current progress of our current CIWP goals and priorities. Our BHT continues to meet regularly to assess referrals of any students. I mean, between last meeting and this meeting, you know, there haven't been that many school days, so there haven't been as many referrals. So there really is no really much updates. SPED team, again, announcing the arrival of our 2 new SPED teachers, Ms. Nancy Galvez and Mr. Andrew Fries, to our Peirce family. They started on January 5th, and we welcome them to Peirce. Currently, for MTSS updates, the cycle for benchmark assessments, or MOI, just opened this past Monday. So the MOI STAR assessment is our universal screener, which opens from January 12th to February 6th. So tier changes will take place once all testing is completed. We're also going to take a deep dive within the data to, you know, evaluate trends and patterns within the academic data. You know, teachers look at this data to really, like, for instructional planning purposes, but also, you know, to meet the individualized needs of students as well. Especially if they see, like, oh, there was a change in tiers, whether it was a positive trend or a negative trend, they plan around that data to make any accommodations necessary for the child. Structured recess. You will see this very thick packet. I mentioned in the previous LSC meeting, looking into PlayWorks. So I'm going to read, you know, just a brief statement of what PlayWorks is. PlayWorks is dedicated to enhancing children's physical and social well-being by fostering environments that encourage active, safe, and meaningful play. Through our work with schools and youth programs, they create a recess and play experience where every child can participate and share access to interpersonal, cognitive, and physical benefits of play. So it really prioritizes inclusive and engaging play opportunities Playworks helps to develop essential leadership and teamwork skills as well while contributing to a positive and supportive learning environment. So I shared this with you yesterday as well. But in the packet, you will see the partnership proposal for Playworks training services. So they give us like a summary of the different options, the overview, and the options that we, are available at our disposal right now. We also have the flyers here that just describe all the different types of implementations that they have. They have recess implementation. They also have game facilitation, because as a school, we can decide, well, we don't want all the facets of Playworks. If we wanted just to focus on recess implementation, we could just, adopt that, and that would be at a lower cost. For the full program, it's $25,000 for recess implementation, for game facilitation, for indoor recess training as well. It does come with equipment as well if we sign up for the full term service. They gave us a statement of work and payment terms schedule. So before, I obviously wanted to bring it to LSC, and that's going to be something we discuss when we get to the budget part. Two proposals that they shared with me is one, a recess reboot for the remainder of the school year, which you will see in the statement of work file. That would start in March 2026. They said since we're too deep into the school year, they don't have the coaching and staffing currently. Usually they go through those cycles from the beginning, and that's suggested. What we would receive is kind of like a condensed version of it. We wouldn't receive the full implementation. So the full implementation, what it looks like, involves like an on-site coordinator, for example. Like they would visit the school site like once a month for a whole week to evaluate the state of recess. Obviously, training would also take place as well with our employees that we have staff as recess coaches. So that's at a cost of $12,600 for the remainder of this year. On the second page, you will see the team up version, which that's the full package. Everything that's included in here, the recess implementation, the game facilitation, indoor recess implementation, that's called team up. That's for the full $25,000, but that proposal will not go into effect until next school year. So obviously we can discuss this, once I finish my report and everything, if anyone has any questions about this or concerns. I did want to note, I want to recognize that although we would like to have structured recess put into place, we want to respect student autonomy as well, because, I don't want to force students, to like, okay, you have to engage in structured play. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of it is also to give that autonomy, and Playworks does recognize that as well. So this would help structure and build those team learning strategies, skill building, social emotional skill building. I really think this would be a great effective program. And I've heard from our staff here, there's like nothing but positive things. Like it was something very positive that was done in the past year, and it was something, that they would be happy to bring back. An update on my listening tours. So yeah, I'm finishing up the listening tours. Holidays hit and a lot of stuff was happening. So I'm meeting with a couple more parent groups as well as student stakeholders. So I'm hoping like next LSC meeting, I will have a little bit more details of the feedback that I collected, as well as staff and student surveys, making sure I get that out to families. We do have 5 essentials coming up soon in the next few weeks. So I want to try to beat that, want to try to gauge, feedback for what we have right now and compare it to that when the time comes. For domain 2 is the summative designation. I discussed this a little bit at the State of the School back in November. So if you will see, it states IL 2025 Illinois report card. The summative designation helps families and community understand how well schools are serving the students. So there are 5 summative designations: exemplary, commendable, targeted, comprehensive, and intensive. As I mentioned in the State of the School back in November, our summative designation was targeted for this year. So you will see a description of it. And the reason I bring it up at this is, they look at a lot of factors such as our school-wide data, including testing data. So based on the number of students that took, for example, IAR, they measure that. So if it wasn't a high percentage, they just capture the amount of students who engage in the testing. So on the second page, you will see the percentages of why we were indicated as a targeted school. And if you see where it's that red box right there, that's like EL, that indicates our EL population. So those are 2.95%. You know, and again, this is gathered from that IRA data. So we want to make sure that we're capturing all data points, you know, and that's why we want to encourage that participation in IAR, because it helps us as a school mitigate the resources that we need and the structures and supports that we need to put into place. Now, being a targeted school, we do receive additional funding from the state and support from CPS to work on our areas of improvement. I'll be reaching out to our network chief to see how that mitigation of funds is going to look like for Peirce. So again, that's just something I wanted to bring to the forefront again. I don't want to put her on the spot here, but she's well educated in this as well as a former LSC. And I'm actually going to take this moment. Our new assistant principal, Ms. Jessica Bakulis, is here. Welcome her. Jessica, I don't know if you want to add anything else for
Just
is it
the
designation?
resources that when we get additional resources from the state of Illinois or from ISB, it really does get distributed and really implementing to support all of our students, not just the one targeted group, but it will help all. So it's actually not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. The word targeted has like a negative connotation, but it allows us to have additional resources in this and additional funding for different programs and stuff. So we're going to take it and we're going to use it to the best, absolute best we can to support all of our students.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. And to her point too, like, we want to make sure, like, you know, we really invest in areas, you know, where we see that need for growth. Like, that data does help us see, you know, where that need of growth is. Our grade level meeting, since our last LSC meeting, we've had access testing overview. The access window is opening up, as well as ILT learning and planning. Again, that relates to our current CIWP goals. Quarter 2 grades, report cards and IP reports were sent home to students on Friday, January 9th. This past Monday, we also had our focus rigor walk. On the next LSC meeting, we will be discussing having more data points. I'm going to discuss it with ILT first. Since I was not here at the beginning of the school year, I want to get the data from the network to be able to compare the beginning of the year data versus the middle of the year. So one practice that I always did in my previous school was, you know, we did like a data item analysis to see what growth we made as a school. So that's something, a practice that I would like to bring here. Want to bring that to ILT and then share it with our LSC as well. Domain 3, this is the lengthy one. Culture and climate. You will see in the next, there is a 2-pager front and back. This is in response to the climate and culture letter inquiry from the equity committee. I believe that was sent prior to my arrival at Peirce. So I want to just jump right into it and go over a couple of the questions in the letter that stated was questions about the job description and requirements for the climate and culture coordinator. How are they connected with the restorative practices and discipline discipline support resources and trainings? So I did attach it's embedded the description within the response for climate and culture coordinator. I shared an overview for school culture coordinator. It's called school culture coordinator. That's the official title for the job code. The school culture coordinator will work in close collaboration with key school and community stakeholders to integrate new culture programs, trainings, and resources that focus on leadership and staff development, enhance discipline and behavioral framework, student social emotional support, conflict resolution, and attendance improvement. So this really aligns to that CPS restorative and discipline resources and training. I'm happy to say that Mr. Trad, actually, our culture and climate coordinator, is actually attending a 3-day workshop for restorative practices, and we cannot wait to hear what he's going to bring back. The plan is for our upcoming February PD for him to present to staff on the practices that he acquired, and as well as bring it to the equity forum. And that was the whole purpose of bringing it all together. So we're all on the same page. So all of that is happening in the same week. So teachers had the PD on that February 17th, and we're having the equity forum on the same date as well. The second point was, what was the hiring process for the climate and culture coordinator? Again, want to note, this is before my time, so I was not involved in the hiring process. But I did reach out to those that were involved to get that data and information. One of the questions that was also included, did parents or students play a role in the hiring process? Historically, parents have had an opportunity to play a role in the hiring process. So my response to that, there were well over 30 applicants, this is what I gathered, for the position. After discussion amongst the admin team prior to me, the priority was to hire an internal candidate that demonstrated the job description and someone that was student-centered in their approach. Since this was an internal hire, parents and students did not really play a role in this hiring process. 3 internal candidates were considered for the position, and Mr. Trad was the one that ultimately was chosen as the climate and culture coordinator. So as he went into this role of climate and culture coordinator, which means the next point, what are the long and short-term goals for the work led by the climate and culture coordinator, including what's the vision for parent and family engagement of the work, communication engagement for parents and family. So this was set prior to my arrival. These are the goals that were set for climate and culture. So you'll see noted here. Year 1 is building that foundation. So the focus on refocusing on restorative practices, implementing those restorative practices, PDs, the trainings that Mr. Trad is attending and going to be sharing with our staff as well as parents, reinforcing positive systems, so launching those school-wide PBIS, the positive behavior intervention and support systems, so student of the month, the Panther pause that has been done with fidelity and with great cadence, and obviously student accountability, the standardized use of logical consequences depending on the level of infraction in correlation with the student code of conduct. Any behavioral infraction that occurs, again, restorative practices and justice are first and foremost at the focal point. But again, depending on the level of infraction and depending on the level of infraction from the same student too, we'll have to assess, what type of behavioral infraction would be appropriate for that such behavior. It's not necessarily a punishment, but it's also thinking about behavioral intervention plans for those students, supports that they might need interventions, tiered interventions to help support those students to not repeat those behaviors in the long run. For SY27, capacity building was the next goal. So again, restorative practices, continuing that cycle, continue building that teacher capacity for restorative practices, using those circles in the classroom, engaging in restorative conversations and logical consequences. We want to also gauge that stakeholder voice, implementing quarterly culture temperature checks for students in 3rd to 8th grade, and parents to have a voice in climate and culture of the building. Again, that stakeholder feedback is very necessary. Parent restorative practices initiative. We want to launch things like restorative coffee chat or family circles. So in addition to the forum that we're doing already this year, we want to continue that cadence, continue building that professional ability, because parents partnering in restorative practices is going to carry great weight in the sense that the practices that parents are educated with, those are the practices that we are trying to, as a school, continue doing with kids. Parents doing that at home is going to carry greater buy-in in the long run. So we want to make sure that we're all on the same page, we're all in this together, and we develop that cadence, moving forward in the long run. For year 3 for SY28, again, continuing that restorative practice focal point. Well, at this juncture, we really want to focus on that restorative justice leaders process, like beginning the process to train a cohort of 5th to 8th grade students to facilitate peer jurors or peace circles for minor tier 1 conflicts. So building that student component to make sure that students, are part of the process. I think, educating students right now is the key, getting them comfortable with those restorative conversations is key, but then also taking ownership, building that student autonomy is going to create greater weight and buy-in. And then developing a greater tier 2 intervention system that moves beyond that whole school tier 1 to specific interventions like check in, check out, small group skill building for high need students, reducing the burden of classroom teachers. By having those menu of interventions in place, that's going to help mitigate, anything that may arise in the long run and, give the resources that teachers need to mitigate those type of infractions. Vision for parent and family engagement. So overall, our vision is for parents to be true partners in restorative practices. And it, like I said, it goes beyond school. This offers including those parent workshops and forums focused on restorative approaches, social emotional learning, inclusive practices, providing parents with the shared language as tools and understanding to support children consistently at home and at school. And, we also want to continue partnering with foundations such as the Gus Foundation to strengthen and deepen our commitment to equity, to inclusion and belonging. These partnerships help our practices to be informed, sustainable, and aligned with our school's best practices. And, another point that was brought up in the letter, communication and engagement during the leadership transition. As Principal Peirce, families can always expect clear, transparent, and ongoing communication from me as principal. These will include timely updates, opportunities for parent forums like the ones that we have coming up in February, or listening sessions or structured opportunities to engage with the principal, as well as the content and culture coordinator. That's one thing I do want to bring to the forefront, including Mr. Tratt in those conversations. Again, it's a collective, and his role as content and culture coordinator, I think it's important for him to be visible, to be gathering this feedback, because it's going to help build his capacity and his position to be able to capitalize on that feedback and suggestions from all stakeholders. The next page you will see is the year-to-date behavior incidents. At the last LSC meeting, one of the things that was mentioned, recommended having a comparison of where we were, from other schools, from the network, as well as comparison from last year to this year. So you will see in the report, here's our year-to-date consequences. So we have instructive, corrective, restorative practices, number of 20 incidents that have been inputted up to date, with 2 detentions and 4 in-school suspensions. And you'll see a breakdown of the demographic in the next table. And incidents since the last LSC meeting, so there were no incidents reported. I mean, it was a short window from our last meeting to now. So no further incidents have been reported. On the next page, then you will see the comparisons, of the district. This gives a snapshot of what the district's overall. So what we saw in our previous page, the first one was our schools. This shows the districts. So for example, 39,454 corrective, instructive, restorative practices have been engaged as a district. If you look at the graph below for network 2, that's the network our school is in, there have been a total of 439 instructive or corrective restorative practices that have been engaged within our network. And so you see also, so on and so forth, the number of detentions, of in-school and out-of-school suspensions from a district to network 2. So obviously, we're way below that. If you look on the third page, the behavior incident comparison. So this is comparing last year to this school year. So in SY 25 through week 17, 39 incidents occurred through week 17 as of the last year. But through this year, we've had 21 incidents reported through week 17. So there's been a drop in incidents compared from last year to this year. The next part is investigate allegations of bullying. So you'll see the year-to-date, the number of investigations, 1 was founded. And since our last LSC meeting, there hasn't been any more bullying allegations brought to our attention. As I mentioned before, Student of the Month took place on January 7th, again, to celebrate students' efforts, students that go above and beyond what it means to be a Peirce Panther. On the last page, you'll see the climate and culture goals. I already went over these in the response to the letter, but shared here again. And then I did want to bring up the Student Voice Committee. So we are launching, I'm happy to announce that we are launching that this Friday. We were going to launch it last Friday, but since the learning celebrations were going on, we didn't want to interrupt that work that the students were doing. So we're, in conjunction with CC and Mr. Trad, we developed an agenda for this week's meeting, and so they're very excited. Gonna bring them some snacks too, so that'll be a good, convince you that they can join us. And we gathered a lot of stakeholders, from the affinity groups. We wanted multiple representation within the Student Voice Committee. So I believe we have like 15 plus members within the Student Voice Committee, from our different affinity groups. So our focal point's gonna be really, getting this going. CC was more than kind enough to want to do an icebreaker. I want her to be just as an active participant in this as much as me and Mr. Trad. As a member of the committee, the focus is going to be really on sharing that student perspective with leadership, the collaboration between us with staff to address the school-wide challenges and to help create those solutions long-term to help better unify our school and making, again, and I'll get to those points in a few minutes about the things that, that have been brought already in the past, from CC, things that, concerns that students did have. So we want to set up meeting norms, moving forward. The cadence is going to be, as a group, we're going to meet once a month because we have affinity groups meeting every other week as well. So we wanted to set up we're going to meet the first Friday of every month to be able to see, this is where we're at as student voice, and we, that's why we leverage, getting those representatives from those affinity groups to be able to be those active participants in the Student Voice Committee, and just addressing current student priorities that have been already brought to our attention, give the students updates, but also establish structures and accountability structures, especially, if we're going to make and implement a change, to an initiative, a policy that is being rescinded or implemented, we want to make sure that we set up strong accountability, and that's where that student voice comes into play. I don't want it just to come up because I heard people say it. No, I want it to be a collective decision. I don't want it because the ones first and foremost who are going to be participating are students. They're the ones who are going to be living this out. So if there's something that I'm going to hear them out, but I'm also going to discuss the accountability piece. Like, okay, if we're going to do this, what is the accountability piece going to look like as students as peers? We want to make sure that they voice that as well. Okay. In the next packet, our 21-page packet. Thank you. Told you I was going to bring a lot to it. In this novel, you will see our Cultivate survey results. So I'll make it easy for you. Feel free to go through it because it is broken down in many different ways, shapes, and forms. On page 2, it gives you the overall results for our Cultivate survey results. So the Cultivate survey was administered during the fall. I believe it started in October through the beginning of November. I want to say, I think it was right last week was actually my first week here when it started. So 5th to 8th grade students are the ones who are given the Cultivate survey. And basically the Cultivate survey really focuses on learning conditions, which include teacher caring, meaningful work, student voice. So on page 2, you will see what the students rated currently for the fall of 2025. You will see that the highest one, student voice, was rated at an 85. That's amazing. That's it. Again, I want to take credit. But again, this is stuff that was done before me. So I want to give credit to also our wonderful staff, our wonderful, community members. This is a collective effort, to our students as well. This is them coming together. The affinity groups, I think, have been a big plus, and I think that's one of the reasons our student voice is where it is. I am going to be sharing this too with our student voice committee to gauge more additional feedback from them. Is there, because a lot of them come from those grade levels, 5th grade, so they are representative of that. So you'll see that there are different measurements here as well. It breaks it down. So you'll see, like on page 3, for example, the teacher caring aspect, they have different items that they're questioned about. So students are basically asked to respond For example, this teacher makes sure we know how much they enjoyed working with us. So the student will have to respond by saying, that's not true, it's a little true, somewhat true, mostly true, or completely true. So they disaggregate all the data and they take a measure. So like for teacher Karen, for example, it was rated at a 59, but it was based on all the data that was aggregated with all the items that were asked. Same thing for all the other learning conditions. So again, as a school, we want to take this back to and see where we can improve as a school moving forward from a culture and climate standpoint and continue building student and teacher capacity. Safety drills and updates. So we are fully up to date with our safety drill and compliance requirements. We've completed our first allergy drill, our lockdown drill, our shelter in place, and 3 fire evacuation drills have taken place in our bus evacuation drill. Our shelter in place, and that's actually a typo, my apologies. That should actually say our allergen drill will be taking place on January 28th. So that's the one that they're required to do a tabletop drill with staff for allergen drill. So my apologies for that. That should actually be allergen drill because we already had shelter in place. Last week on January 8th, 3 minutes after school entry, one of the fire alarms was activated by a faulty cover. It was one of our custodians. Unfortunately, he did not know because the cover was a little loose already. It fell off and he put it back and it triggered it. Because there's 2 alarms. There's the pool alarm, and there's also the box alarm. It triggered it. It was repaired, and I asked our school engineer to please do a thorough check of all covers so that it doesn't happen again. So happy to report, no, it was not a pool. There was no fire. It was just a faulty cover, which was immediately repaired on the same day. So that's, and I obviously sent that communication out to families. That's one thing I will continue with that cadence. Like, if something happens, I'm going to say something, which brings me to my next point. Today, January 14th, we became aware of a potential smell of gas. Like I've already sent out an email actually to parents earlier before the dismissal, as to our staff as well. There was a report of a weird smell coming from the vents. Our school engineer thoroughly investigated the situation and determined there was no gas leak. I think that was the first and foremost, so we need to ensure that, if there was something going on, that we need to initiate evacuation procedures and everything. But initially, no alarms or detection, nothing was going off. Everything was working normally. It was a mechanical issue. So it was like a faulty, I think they said exhaust motor was it stopped working, omitting that smell. He disabled it. He's looking into repairing it and everything. It doesn't affect the overall systems in our school, like the heating, it'll work normal functionally, but that's what happened. So there was no electrical fire or any other type of gas smell. So school safe. So we're already working with facilities to get that repaired immediately. Security camera update. On December 16th, we had a representative from Safety and Security come out. And after the break, he shared specifications of potential areas that we can install cameras within our school building. He estimated the cost for the cameras would be marked up around $45,000 overall. He suggested that we look at the cameras, as a school, if you can't afford doing the whole project right now. One suggestion he said was focusing on areas of concentration, like any hotspots that you might think might require, whether it be by the entry or the cafeteria, focusing on those hotspots, because that would offset the cost, phase it in, do a phase 1. If you invest $20,000 for a first set of cameras, and in the future you get the funding elsewhere, because I did ask, are we anywhere close to getting funding from the district? He's like, we're on the wait list. So there is no timeline right now as to when that might happen. It could be a year, it could be several years. There's no timeline for that. So it's linked in the report, but I also shared, just the proposed camera spots that they're focusing on and everything. I think as a school, like, we're gonna focus on like those high volume areas of traffic, you know, where students are passing by or a lot of student entry, you know, where we wanna, again, it's for safety purposes and everything as well. We wanna make sure students are safe, and we wanted to make sure that that is mitigated too. Playground gate update. So right now, facilities is still awaiting 2 more quotes. I did share one of the quotes. I'm happy to say we don't have to pick up the cost. Facilities will be the one who handle this. So in our initial meeting with the facilities manager, that was the first thing I brought to the forefront. That I need those areas fenced up. So they are waiting for the quotes from 2 other vendors. Usually they'll pick the best quote. They're already looking into the funding for it and everything, and once they get the PO for that, then they will give me a timeline as to when the construction will begin for that. So it could be between now and the end of the school year. It could give me a definite, but the wheels are in motion for that. So that's great, wonderful news. So that way all those areas are locked up, especially when kids are on the playground during recess as well. LSC elections are coming up too. I've shared at the beginning, you know, the deadline is January 20th, 2026. You know, we've been CC did the announcement this morning, just to remind students, you know, of that active participation. I created the LSC election parent and community flyer, which we did for now, we're sending home as well, just to continue that promotion of the LSC, upcoming LSC election. Our SY 25-26 attendance. So our attendance did take a little bit of a dip, which is usually expected around the holiday season. So we went down to 94.93%. Obviously, our goal is to stay above that 95% threshold. So what I did was I took a screenshot of, like, you know, just so you guys can see the week by week. This is the month of December. So you see how it, like, overall was 91.28 for the month of December. And that last week it was like 89.4%. So we took a hit there. Upon arrival, you know, back from school, like right now I don't have this week's. Usually they do it on a week by week basis. So I'll have it for next week. It was 94.52%. So like we kind of started normalizing out. So we expect it to go up again. So because we were at the 95% threshold in the last LSC meeting. So obviously we want to continue being forward thinking, ensuring that, you know, we continue mitigating, you know, promoting attendance. We do have our attendance committee who's looking for ways to encourage attendance and also rewarding attendance for those classrooms who have a higher rate of attendance. Policy updates. I mean, CC already spoke to a lot of this. So for everyone's peace of mind, there will be no tardy policy put into effect. Okay. Our focus will continue to be on attendance and continuing to look for ways to improve school-wide attendance and tardies overall. We have to be solutions oriented. We don't want to make this a punitive thing, you know, come to school. Like, that's why there will be no tardy policy. So our focus is being solutions oriented to ensure that we promote student attendance and find ways to support those, you know, students with a high number of absences, like really digging deep and seeing, you know, what is, you know, ways that we can best support families. In the last LSC meeting, I know one other thing that was mentioned was the student financial support, what that looks like, the school trip financial support. There were questions about that, so I wanted to like share with you. So this is what the permission slip looks like. And if you'll notice there, and I actually put the snippet there on the principal's report, if a family is in need of financial support, they can indicate it on the permission slip. One thing as a school, from the school standpoint, from our staff, we're gonna also improve, like, you know, trying to ensure that all teachers and staff are following the protocols, ensuring, you know, please report, you know, we receive the permission slips, office staff reports it to administration, we confirm the fund, you know, identify the students who are in need of that support, and, you know, we reach out to FOP, you know, for any students in support of the financial assistance. So we're gonna continue reviewing, you know, the layout of that information, ensuring that teachers and staff are following that with fidelity to ensure, like, if a child requires financial support, this is what the steps are. middle school bathroom policy. So in response, in the previous meeting, I mentioned in response to previous threats posted, students were limited to using the bathroom during the scheduled bathroom breaks before and after lunch. If there was an emergency, as CC reported in the last meeting, students must complete an online Google form and be escorted by a buddy. So I'm rescinding the Google form and we'll be using a sign in and sign out sheet that Mr. Chad will be sharing with our 7th and 8th grade team. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the accountability piece with student voice committee. Like, we want to make sure that policy is being followed with fidelity and being respected. So we want to make sure, that is discussed. In concerns with this gender neutral bathroom, again, the location of the gender neutral bathroom for the 7th and 8th grade students. So obviously I shared that CPS policy that individuals must be allowed to use the facilities in a manner that makes them feel safest and most included in the school. The update is the staff bathroom on the 3rd floor of the overbuilding will be designated as a gender neutral bathroom, as CC already has stated, but staff will still have access to that bathroom as well. So it'll be designated, so that way students in 7th and 8th grade don't have to walk over to the new building where the 5th and 6th grade bathrooms are. So, and that's going to remain gender neutral for the 5th and 6th grade. So it makes it easier to mitigate that. 7th and 8th grade, stay within that area. 5th and 6th grade, stay within that area for the gender neutral bathroom. Domain 4, talent. Ms. Molly Ostry tendered her resignation to CPS on January 1st, 2026. Ms. Sajine Cadrago, who was hired as a TAT for Ms. Ostry's position, was offered a full-time position and accepted. Ms. Ellen Zander tendered her resignation to CPS, which went into effect on December 26th. Ms. Beth Arena, who was hired at the same time as Ms. Quadrago for Ms. Sanders' position, she was offered the position and accepted. I just want to give them a shout out. They have done such a wonderful job in room 104, really bringing stability to the classroom, and that sense of continuity, is seen. Ms. Nancy Galvez, the sped teacher, is the one also who I already announced in the sped updates. She is in 104. I've heard nothing but wonderful things, and we want to continue, building that momentum for that classroom and bringing that stability. Other new staff Peirce members are new PYP assistant principal, Miss Jessica Bakulis, sitting in the corner over there. She just started this past Monday, January 12th. There's an introductory letter if you'd like to see it, linked on there as well. And then I announced Miss Nancy Galvez and Mr. Andrew Freeze. They began on January 6th. Ms. Ariana Zapata, who is a 4th grade TAT in place of Ms. Calhoun, who is on medical leave right now. She began on January 6th as well. There are nothing but wonderful things about her as well. And Ms. Jamie Crockett, she's going to be our 7th grade ELA TAT. Mr. Tradova, today is his last day, wishing all his family the best. His wife is expecting. So he is starting his paternity leave effective tomorrow. So we congratulate him and his family, and we welcome Ms. Jamie Crockett to the Peirce family in his stead. Principal AP Professional Learning. So our next meeting is actually scheduled tomorrow. So myself and Ms. Buckles will be attending the meeting tomorrow. I have attended one of the Budget 101 trainings. Obviously, I want to continue building my efficacy, and my capacity as a principal in ensuring that I build that capacity to manage budgets. So I signed up for Budget Training 101 and already attended that first workshop on January 7th. I will be attending the next one on January 21st. That would be Budget 102. I will also be attending the Professional Development for New Principals on January 27th, hosted by the Department of Principal Quality. And our rescheduling has been updated for the SY 25-26 year now that we have our admin team set in stone. And that is projected to be all completed by the May 18th deadline. And that is my principal's report.
So we want to open the floor for questions. I had a couple, but let's let everyone else go first.
I have a question.
Yes.
As far as, from my understanding, what the priorities for the cameras, the security cameras, I know last year there were bathroom incidents, so I've believe that looking at the schematics in the school floor plan, that if there was a priority for those cameras, it'll probably be the ones facing the bathrooms versus, some of the other.
And I did
areas.
mention that when the representative came out from safety and security, because my focal point was like, besides the bathrooms too, I wanted that, the hallways as well.
Yeah.
So he's like, we have cameras that can capture, like, that have that full view, not just of that one area, but also of the whole hallway as well, because the cameras have the capacity to be able to zoom into, like if an incident were to occur and everything, and we need to look at camera footage, like let's say the hallway, for example, we can zoom in, from that far distance and see, what happened. So I agree with that. So that's my thinking right now, that we're gonna focus on those areas where the bathrooms are due to the incidents. And then, obviously, when picking the spots, I'm gonna look, what's gonna be the cost, like, for that, which we'll discuss in the budget part.
Can I jump in since we're on that subject?
Yeah.
Maybe another question around the cameras. So do we need to go with the CPS approved vendor or?
Yes.
Okay, so it has to be one of them.
Yes.
Do they have a couple of them or is it just one vendor?
So
that
I
does everything?
believe it's kind of like similar to facilities. They look at similar quotes, like they'll reach out to vendors and they'll look at the 3 best quotes and then pick, they pick one. And so submit a bid to get a PO, and once the PO is processed, then the scope of work can begin.
And so just to understand, so the 45,000 is our best case scenario?
That's the overall,
Oh.
that's the cost for the whole.
Meaning, yeah, to equip everything.
I honestly was relieved, because I thought it was good, because like, when he was here, he was like, oh, it's gonna be like about 4,000 a camera. I'm like, what? Like, okay, like, can you help me out here? Let's make this more cost friendly. But he did some further exploration, like, considering, the schematics and everything, since it's not being funded by the district, but we still want to give you a quality camera. So, I mean, I was like, you know what, even if it's expensive, that's what I said to him. I want to make sure that we invest in something quality, that it's not something, just for the sake of having a camera.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right.
I'm gonna stay in the camera topic. So this markup, it's basically the review from CPS.
Yes.
What I couldn't see is anything that's existing.
Yes, because that is internally, because really there is no cameras internally, like really, like in the hallways.
Okay.
So that's the schematics of it.
So
So that was his focal point when he drew up the plan. He wanted to really target what was not present. So what is present right now is usually mostly on the playground area
Okay.
and at the door entry. Like we have a camera, I believe, here at the main entrance we do, and where the teachers come in as well. And I don't recall there being any other cameras other than that, because he looked. Actually, there are other cameras in the MDF rooms. I was like, I get why it's there, but no one comes in here unless you're the tech co. So there are cameras in those MDF rooms.
And the media data.
Yeah, so it's where all the
IT
servers
closet.
are and everything. So it's not, students are not in those areas or staff are not in those areas unless you're the tech co or.
Yeah, like those aren't school cameras. That's-
Exactly.
That's the
But-
IT department owns that, so.
But they install those cameras for security purposes.
Themselves.
So those are the only other 2 cameras that
Yeah.
I know exist. One being in the back of Ms. Picolas' office. So,
Very warm.
that's all we have.
Okay.
So that's why, he drew up the schematics of like, this is what, and it was 13 cameras in total. So what he said as a school, focus on those hotspots. Like I said, rank it from 1 to 13, 1 being your highest priority, 13 being lowest priority, rank it like that. And we can draw it up and like do a plan for that then.
If you want a second set of eyes ranking them,
For sure.
we can.
I appreciate that. That'd be great.
Physical security.
Something we would discuss for new business before we vote?
I think this is just a proposal, I don't
The
think
next
there's,
meeting?
I don't think there's any motions to approve this.
No,
Well,
I'm just
I
wondering what
am
we're.
gonna bring it in the budget request, that is part of the proposal, like, you know, to invest the money
Yeah.
for this project.
Okay.
Again, they were gonna take care of, like, on their end, the PO, the quotes and everything.
Got it.
That's CPS's scope. Again, they would rely with facilities. I think one thing I would say is like, I wanna make sure that it doesn't interfere during like the student day, like, you know, they're not working on it during the student day, so. I mean, ideally, it would be nice for them to do it like, you know, either before school or after school, or an upcoming break, like spring break, for example. That's my ideal preference, where students are not around. I mean, I don't know, you know, if there's any rewiring, because they were looking at like areas where the modems are set up, and we have a lot of ports. So that's where they're like really targeting, like, this would be the ideal place for the camera, because it'll be less work. It's already set up, those ports. All it is like a little bit of rewiring and installing the cameras near those designated ports.
I'm so sorry, just to clarify, this is not something we need to vote on.
Well, what I'm gonna, well, for the cameras, the only thing is from the budgetary.
Okay.
Like, I want to request, which we'll get to in the budget part, moving funds from internal accounts to be able to fund part of this. Because again, I don't wanna like,
Right.
you know, use up all our funds, but I'll explain when we get to that part, you know, what funding I'm thinking of utilizing to be able to start you know, report to them, hey, we have this X amount of dollars to be able to do this. How many cameras will that cover? And because that'll help us decide where we're gonna focus on first.
So I guess I know we're gonna come to the point where you're gonna talk about the budget, and what are you thinking? So obviously, probably the 45,000, realistically, we cannot do the entire thing, or?
Right, I wanna face it.
Sure.
Focus on the hotspots, like to Lamont's point, like, you know, maybe those areas of concern from last year is where I would really focus on. And then in next year, looking again, reviewing the funding, whether, you know, that's something I bring to FOP, like, you know, putting it as a priority too. Like, again, I'll look at what we have from our internal accounts and see what we can utilize to be able to fund it. Because if we do, what I'm proposing is 20,000 for this year, and then we'll need 25,000 more. I'm like, part of me's hoping like, you know, maybe CPS is gonna call me and be like, hey, congratulations, you're gonna get the rest of the funding. Yeah, we're gonna
Yes,
but let's wishful thinking. So let's, you know, focus on what's, you know, we need right now as a school.
This is maybe a silly question. Does CPS offer like a line of credit to schools or not?
No. If they did, oh, trust me, I would have bought a lot of stuff. It's probably not a good thing.
Well, yeah, for important stuff, I guess, not to
Right,
remodel the office.
but ideally, like, it'd be nice, from a school standpoint, it'd be nice, but that's not the way things are.
Did you have something?
I have a bunch of questions, can I just rattle them all? Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, just want to say thank you for the report, Principal Avila. That was really informative, and I feel like I can see the results already of like these listening sessions that you're doing, and appreciate your engagement with the topics that CC continues to bring up, and prioritizing student voice, as well as responding to like the equity committee questions. It feels like a dialogue, which is really fantastic.
Sure.
So appreciate that. So a few questions I had, about the behavior incident comparison. So we're doing great. It looks like 39 incidents, last year and 21 this year. So like a big reduction. I was wondering if we have any sense of like what may have led to that reduction in incidents, and if anything was like implemented that, like any lessons learned from that, and maybe we don't know today, but I'm wondering.
I think in my conversation with Mr. Trad, like, you know, like initiatives like the Panther Paws, like, you know, Student of the Month, I think those have been good precursors, like that school-wide PVAS format, to really mitigate, you know, those positive behaviors.
Yeah.
We were trying to instill in students that restorative approach and everything, you know, conflict resolution with one another and everything. So, you know, I think building that efficacy, that student capacity as well is really helping a lot, is what I'm hearing. I mean, obviously, incidents do occur, and I acknowledge that. But we also, that's why we want to still continue building that capacity, teacher and student capacity, especially from that restorative lens approach. Want to make sure, like, that first and foremost comes into fruition, no matter what type of incident occurs. That is, like, always a part of the conversation.
Thank you for that. In the past, we've talked about a lot of behavior incidents happening at recess or at lunchtime, and I'm wondering if there's any way to like break out those numbers and see like where the incidents are occurring,
I can look into that.
And that's helpful kind of as we have the conversation about like playworks and like additional resources for recess. I had a few questions about playworks. So this is something that like a partner we've used in the past at Peirce? Or, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, when was that and like kind of? Like
I don't know
years
exactly.
ago?
I don't know if you recall when was the last time it was used.
Pre-COVID,
So, 2020.
like 15, 16, something like that.
So it's been a while.
Okay, but it's something the staff recommended basically?
Yeah, they've heard a lot of positives about it.
Okay.
And I think, to go back to your other question about the incidents, there has been, from what I'm hearing, is a lot of the incidents stem from recess and lunch.
Yeah.
So I think that's why one of the focal points is really focusing on structure, but it's also training for those coaches too. Because I want to make sure that they're active participants in restorative practices as well.
And does this help with lunch too, or?
It's the focal point is recess for
Okay,
this.
okay.
But I
Just
mean,
kind of
a lot of the stuff that, they can adapt it to the lunch.
Okay.
And also the supports that it gives for indoor recess too, like, I know kids, we try to send the kids out as much as we can. I mean, weather permitting.
Yeah.
But, this is gonna help build that efficacy too, like the training that they offer are indoor, they have indoor recess as well. Like, a couple of things with the Playworks proposal, like, part of me, like, after the last conversation with them this past Monday was like, well, we could start in March, April, May, that's 3 months for 12,600. That was the only thing that kind of threw me off. I was like, I don't know if that's appropriate, in such a short window. There are other proposals, like if you look actually at, let me see here. At the partnership proposal, there are other options too that they've offered, like, let's see. Summary. Package one option set the reboot that the 12,600, but that was actually more expensive. I cut it down to 12,600 because they wanted to include the consultative visits, which are an additional 10,500. I was like, no, we're not doing that. Like for 4 visits for the remainder of the school year, we're not doing it. And the cost would have been $23,000. That's like paying for a full year. So like, why am I gonna pay for that? Invest in that for a few months. The other options, like for example, like custom workshop, like game facilitation and group management with the 4 consultative visits, it's $13,230. Some of the things that I thought was like, well, what if we just ask for the game facilitation and the group management, something more affordable, like $2,730, just to try it out. They did offer a recess demo too. So that was another thing. I was like, well, maybe we could do the recess demo this year and then decide on, long term, if this is something we're gonna do for next year, just to see how it goes. So even though on the budget request, like, I had already planned this out and everything, asking for the funding, I'm kind of like reverting back, like, is it actually wise to do that? From us, we have such a short window of time right now. Would it be wise to invest $12,600 when that money could go in for next year to fund it? That's how I'm looking at it right now, and would rather focus on something smaller, whether that be the recess demo or like game facilitation or a smaller form of training, like one of the options that they gave us.
I had a question about the recess coaches. Are they, I was talking to some friends at Bell and they said their recess coaches are the same staff that work at their YMCA aftercare program. Like, that's not our model, right? Like our recess coaches have nothing to do with YMCA or
No,
Apollo or
not that I
anything
know.
like that. Is that a model that you've heard of where like, because now we've got Apollo and YMCA, like, are those staff interested in like being recess coaches and with that kind of?
I've heard different things from different schools. Some like, like my previous school, they had right at school. So that was more like, they had their people like come in at the designated times, but we had before and after school care for that. Like we didn't do recess for that, like it was more expensive, but right at school. So it was a different model.
Yeah.
So basically, we did hire someone from the program because they have that gap in between for our staff, to be like a miscellaneous worker, to help support with recess or for classroom support as well. We hired someone for right at school because they work only at that site, for the day. So she was like before school care and after school care. So I know some schools tend to, that's an approach they tend to adopt, like, it's like the crossing guards, for example. They suggest like, crossing guards, if they're assigned to a certain location, that, if there is a job at the local school where you work, that would be a good, because there's that gap in between their time of work, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on the school. So, I mean, currently we don't have anybody, to my recollection, we don't have anybody that works for Apollo or YMCA that's currently staffed here. This is all staff that we have hired.
Okay, thanks. About the Cultivate survey, is this the first time we've done this? Is this something that no?
I think we've done it in the past.
Oh, okay.
Bullshit and truancy. Don't know about how it's been looked at in the past or how it's been administered in the past.
Never got reports like that.
Okay, we never saw like, okay, it'd
New
be
era.
interesting. It'd be interesting, to compare like year over year. If we've done
Right,
that.
I can look to see, I don't know if I would have that, I can look to see if there is.
It's interesting, yeah.
I would like to see it too, just to
Yeah.
see, because again, they do it in the fall and they do it in the spring. So I would like to see, what the comparison is from fall to spring or from spring to fall too. Cause I know this one's for the new school year. So it'd just be interesting to see it. And again, it's a form of student voice. It's a form to capture student voice. And but also the way that it's broken down, a couple other factors, they look at it from also like a subject area lens as well. It's not just,
I saw that.
it's like they look at language arts and mathematics and social science and reading. So it's not just, a social emotional lens, it's also that academic lens as well that's taken into account through Cultivate. It's not non-evaluative. It's again, just take the temperature to see, how students are feeling about the learning conditions currently. And us as a school mitigating those results and saying, okay, what can we take, how are we gonna take these results and how are we gonna improve those learning conditions as indicated from students?
And, okay, for the Student Voice Committee, what's the difference between this and the student voice groups that we currently have?
So the Student Voice Committee is gonna really focus in on like those overall school-wide issues,
Okay.
and really come together as a group, like, to address anything that might, be happening in the school. And it's not just for the purposes like, I don't want it to be seen like another like problem-solving committee or anything like that. It's also gonna be for, the full scope of it's also gonna be for other school-wide initiatives as well. Like, bringing us all together, one common message. So, I want, that to be also a platform where those students have that ability to share out and also come together with other affinity groups as well, because, they might not all go to the same groups. They're all representatives are all coming together to really, come together and speak, and give and share their opinions with one another, which I think is really valuable.
Okay. Okay, last two comments is the gate off Bryn Mawr got broke as soon as they put it in. So I'm just mentioning that.
Oh,
The gate
okay.
where you pull into the alley that ends into the playground. So when you're looking at the gates.
And isn't there a dumpster there a lot of
Yeah,
times?
that-
Yeah,
Garbage trucks
the
maybe
garbage
hit it.
truck hit it like the day after it got installed last school year.
So I think that gate needs to be moved, Because it is valuable to have a gate, but it's probably in the wrong position in relation to the
It can't like
dumpster.
open and close.
So the gate
'cause-
operator by the dumpster.
It's right over there.
Yeah, you'll see it, it's like tipped over and you can't open and
I'm
close
gonna
it.
take a field trip.
Yeah.
Is it dead end, like, it's on this side of the building, if you cut through to go to the playground,
Got it.
just like a little alley that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, gotcha.
I didn't even know it had gotten fixed.
Yeah, last year they put a new gate in there and then it got hit right away.
Yeah, I remember it
Um,
being broken.
All right, I think that's me. Just wanted to say welcome to AP Bakulis and nice to meet you and thanks for coming to the LSC
Very
meeting.
excited to be part of the community, so it's been great. Got to meet a lot of new friends this week, learning a lot of names,
Nice.
about 1,200.
All right, that's me.
Do we have any more comments for the principal's report?
I just wanted to say thank you for how thorough this is. I was a little intimidated when you gave it to us. And I think I just want to make a statement about Playworks, whether or not we decide to start it this year.
Right.
I'm really curious about it, and I wonder what implications this has for all of the conversations about bullying and student behavior. That's,
Right.
so frequently spikes during lunch and
Right.
recess.
And I think also it's important to note too, like, but building that capacity with the staff members that are overseeing those times, the training they're gonna receive is gonna help mitigate that.
And it takes training.
Yeah.
It's not so
It's a
straightforward
lot of training. It's not
on
just
how
like a one day, it's all intense. Like I saw the hours, it's like, it's intense.
to- Yeah.
So, and there will be an accountability piece too. Like you guys gotta follow this with fidelity. That's why with the full implementation, they have that on-site coordinator to really evaluate to see like, hey, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's not just, they're not here every day, but the way it works is they come for a week, an entire week, and they're here for the whole week, monitoring, and making sure that, everything, if there's any redirection that is needed, and they even say like, part of it, we would have to assign like a lead for this, to oversee this, to make sure that's where that other accountability piece oversees that group of people that are leading this work, that are implementing the strategies that they would learn from Playworks.
So I have a few questions very similar to what you just said. My question was around, so obviously this number is pretty hefty, and is this a one-time thing where basically you get the training, you train your staff, and this year and then you're done with it, it kind of carries over to the next year, or do you need to rehire them every
That's a
year?
good question that I can follow up. I believe the training is like the initial part. I don't know what it would be, because there's a lot of facets to it, right?
Okay.
Really, because if you even look at the cost, like even for the on-site consultation, that's where there's a hefty price
Okay,
and everything. So I think one thing I can ask, because I'm now, the more I think about it too,
Mhm.
like, I'm like leaning more towards like doing a demo
Yeah.
versus like, doing the full, I mean, obviously we're doing the full information right now,
Yeah.
but it would be worth exploring, like, okay, what, these are great questions, like, what would the future look like, if we, after year one, what does that look like? What does training look like?
Yeah.
Is it a repeat of the same training,
Mhm.
or is it the build upon what they've already been taught?
Yeah.
So that's a very good point.
and then on that, my other question now would be, is there, like with other schools or in the district, is there a specific position that kind of is an expert in this, meaning,
Mm.
are you able to hire somebody that is, as you said, they recommend appointing a leader, but can we internally hire somebody that already
yeah,
has
you
done
can-
this? And then maybe they can lead the rest of the coaches into their own way of almost imitating or doing something similar to this, but internally without us having to pay, but maybe hire somebody that already has all this experience.
Like
Understand
in
what I'm saying?
addition to
No,
that.
no, keep putting this aside.
Should we
Oh, go ahead.
bypass this third-party Playworks and hire someone internally that could do this work? Is that what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's potentially something we could look into it. I mean, that's something as a management team.
Yeah,
as well.
I don't know if there's a reason coaches.
Yeah.
Leadership
Because it's a
or
lot,
something, or.
yeah, I mean, it's per se, I don't think there's like an official title,
Okay,
like
okay.
it says like, a recess coach.
Right.
Like, they have like, miscellaneous employees, they have TAs, like, they don't have like a specific position. They restorative practice coaches.
Yeah.
But to my recollection, I don't believe they have like a recess coach title for.
So then my other thought was maybe assigning one person maybe to this package option number 2, where it says custom workshop, and maybe sending them, get the training, and then come back and retrain the rest of them.
Because the whole thing with Playworks is everyone who gets trained, everyone involved has to be trained for it to work. Like, it's not just one person, yes.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. Like, I get the concept, but also it's like, the whole purpose is it's something that's collaborative, making sure that, all staff members involved receive the equal training. But obviously assigning that one lead person, like, let's say among the people, as an example, like, I pick a recess coach or an existing recess coach to be the lead, that person will oversee the training, what has been taught to them collectively. So I don't know if there would be an option like for that to be usually the recommended thing. From what I understood in my conversation with Playworks, is that it's who all staff members that are involved. It's not just one person bringing it all back. Then that would negate their service, like the purposes of their service. Like, the whole purpose is to really bring, to the forefront that, on hands-on training.
Yeah.
And being able to have the on-site coordinator to demonstrate, like, what I've heard is like, it's very hands-on too. Like, my wife actually mentioned it to me too, like, in some cases, like, even teachers are involved, like, they've gone outside too, just to model it for them too, when the on-site coordinator's on here too. So it goes beyond just the coaches too, like, from what I'm understanding.
Well, I think it's worth also naming that after COVID, there was a lot more extreme behaviors and a lot more extreme reactions, and no matter how much training there was a classroom teacher, you may not know how to deal with that at recess. And you're also not there during recess, right? So then they bring that back to the classroom, and then that spirals into academic needs. So there's a lot happening at recess and it's misunderstood.
And I think that's like, I agree with that, because I even saw that too, like, past COVID in my past schools, like, I'm like, there is something going, like, it's like the desocialization of, like, the norms that occur, unfortunately, a negative consequence of that COVID time, like, where students forgot, the social norms that are required during those times. And I think, in the way I see it is like, maybe this Playworks is not something that we do long term, but it's something worth, investing in right now, especially, if we want to mitigate those behaviors as well, and, bring back that sense of, like, bring back the social norms to a level that where kids, like, it's consistent, not just one grade level, but for years to come as they're at Peirce. That's my vision, how I envision it.
All right. One question on the Illinois report card.
Yes.
I see the last sentence where it says, state designation should not be used to make claims about the quality and all of that, but question, how concerned are you about these numbers? I'm just curious. Meaning, looking at it, obviously from 2024 to 2025, we actually went backwards. It seems like we're below all of, except this ELA proficiency, everything else is below the, whatever the standard is, or the, so do we need to reevaluate our curriculum, our teaching materials, I'm just curious, like, how much do you read into this?
So the way I'm looking at it too, because again, I had to get some context, is one, what I was shared with, like, there wasn't really high participations too of IAR testing in the past. And a lot of the figures here look into the IAR.
Can I
So,
jump in real quick?
yes.
I don't know if you remember at the there was a meeting in last spring with Principal Samey, and she mentioned, like, she's really concerned because a lot of students opted out of the IAR.
Yeah, I don't recall it, but yeah.
I'm not, don't feel like you have to. It was a very small part of the meeting, but I do remember her saying she was really concerned.
Because a lot of the data that's collected comes from the IAR. So it's like, they rate, ISB rates it based on the data of the students that did assess.
Mhm.
So is this an accurate reflection of the whole school overall? It's only a portion of the amount of students who participated in IAR. Now, going back to your question, how concerned am I? I mean, I'm always looking for areas to improve. When considering curriculum, obviously, from a CPS focal point, we want to ensure that we have high quality curriculum.
Mhm.
And that's something that we're working with our PPLC right now currently, like especially with math. We want to make sure, because currently, CPS rates, what was considered high quality, what is not considered high quality. So the math series for K-5, for example, just to give you an example, is not considered high quality curriculum. So one thing as a school we're going to do as staff is we're looking at different curriculums that are considered high quality. Again, as a forefront to help mitigate and improve the quality of instruction for our student population.
One comment on the climate and culture committee or coordination. I saw that there are some efforts saying that, students, there's some support and some concentration to students grade 3 to 8. Going back to, I guess, some previous, maybe a year ago, LSC meetings, I want to say a lot of the incidents that happened or escalation that happened were first and second grade. And I didn't see any kind of coverage of those grades. So just wanted to point it out. If you want to look into some programs for them as well, or
Right.
some early development for the younger grades.
And even though,
early grades.
and what that data means, because we think about when we collect data, we gotta be rational about, how cognizant, how vocal will they be, how,
Yeah.
thinking about their reading and writing skills and everything, or their capacity to answer those type of questions. I think, we really captured those, 30 and up to be able.
I'm talking about the restorative practices.
Yes,
Oh,
even with
okay.
that, even with the 30 and up, there are ways we can explore it. I know in other schools, for example, we have please show us a smiley face or a thumbs up, thumbs down to capture data,
Yeah.
make it something very, very simple for them.
Yeah.
To even something as simple, how safe do you feel? Give me a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Maybe a hands in the middle or thumbs down if you don't feel safe. Maybe that might be a way to help mitigate that and also instill those type of programs to help, support. But I mean, obviously from the forefront, the, primary grades are very essential to really develop those social, emotional, social skills.
And my last thing is, I know we talked about some repairs. One was the playground gate, and then Nicole just mentioned something. That pathway, I believe it's in front of door 9, which is the side
brick
door
pathway?
to
Okay.
the bricks, yes.
Yeah.
I think they tore them up to build like a castle or something. I saw.
not
Where
many
did all
bricks
these
left.
bricks went? And then I saw like
Garden.
they're building Legos with them.
Okay, well,
There's a large chunk of missing bricks.
Yeah,
alright,
so-
and I know that was one thing that was, I think that's a quote that's also out too.
So I wanted
But
to-
I'll double check with them again.
It looks like.
I know the
somebody
weather-
Took the bricks away because the kids were playing with
Oh,
them.
really?
I know the weather conditions don't help too, to
Yeah.
be able to fix
Right.
that, in a timely manner, because it has to be dry weather conditions, so I will check on that as well, but thank you for reminding me on that. And I did put the gate on Brewmore too, so we're gonna love new facilities.
Are we ready to move to item 6, budget? And I want to remind everyone here that we're at 20 after 7 and we're maybe halfway through. So we just be efficient, but I also think it's important that we're effective. So budget.
Okay, so you will see the internal accounting reconciliation report for your review. As well as our budget expenditure management report. Again, I shared this in the last meeting as well. This is just an overview of our internal accounting and where we currently stand. Currently, in the budget expenditure management reports, we have no negatives. So we cleared all our negatives and anything. Sometimes we get negatives, whether it's on the sub bucket and everything, we have to obviously move funding, something I learned in my budget training is ways of mitigating that as well. So that way, it doesn't really, if it's already been allocated to a program number and a certain line, then it's just reshifting the money to be able to cover those negatives and everything. So that's what you see over there. And then in internal accounting, like I said, those are just like, deposits or withdrawals that have been made and everything. It just gives an overall, point of view of our internal accounting status and everything. Funds that are in the account currently, which leads me to my next point, for the request for budget transfers. I have quite a few that I am requesting. Well, one thing I did want to mention, since we had this discussion, and I want to say thank you for the helpful discussion too about Playworks. It's given me a lot to really think about, because again, if we're gonna do something, we're gonna do it right. We don't want to just jump into something just for the sake of jumping into it. Is it gonna be something helpful and beneficial for the school? I do agree with that. But we also want to be wise in how we're investing the finances for the school to a program of such a long commitment. So my first budget request transfer is to update bucket number 688125. And I don't know if I have, I'm so sorry if I didn't get you a copy.
Yeah, I don't think we've got that sheet, but it's okay. I'm sorry, update budget number 688125. It would be transferred over to Fund 124, and I apologize, this is my first time doing this, so bear with me. 52400254612, grant number 00239 in the amount of $2,000. This is, and this is actually done already, but I'm just reporting it out. This was to replenish the security bucket for Ivan, for him to be able to also stay for LSC. So I know we had discussed this previously, but I'm just reporting it out. Like, again, it was movement of funds and everything that was already in the existing line. What's the bucket that it comes out of? Not the number, but like, what is it actually called?
That is,
I'm just trying to figure out which pocket it's going out of. The pocket it's going into is funding security salary for overtime.
right, so I remember right here, 688. Career service salaries overtime, that's what it
So
is.
it is a general overtime bucket to
Yeah,
security.
it's a general overtime bucket, so it's so we wanted to make sure that we had those funds available, so it's a general overtime bucket for that, so that we did, just to announce that we did that on January 5th, just so I'm just letting the LSC know that was done. One thing that I learned in my budget meeting was you must have it in the minutes where you announce every budget transfer in there.
Yeah, so this is just a recording.
Correct, this one.
Yeah.
The next one's our request. So for the next one, the request for this one is to transfer funds from 115-513-20 290 001 00070 to budget line 115-52130 320020 00070.
I'm not writing this.
Yeah,
I
I'll
was
give
just
you a
gonna-
copy
I
of
was
it.
just gonna say, usually what we do is kind of what Eric was saying, write down where the funds move
Okay,
from like which bucket to which bucket.
got it.
So I'm assuming we need a record, though. We need a
Yeah, but
record
we
of the
need-
serial
yeah.
number of each one.
Oh, okay, so maybe I'll take a screenshot.
Yeah, I can share that with you. This is to open a bucket for OST, out of school time, after school programming to pay SICA. So if we have SICAs who are doing, providing services for after school programming for OST, this is to open the bucket because we do have SICAs that are working. We have 2 SICAs that are working for that. So we need to transfer the amount to be able to have a bucket for them. And that is in the amount of $2,000.
And those programs are the CPS after-school
Correct.
programs.
The OST
And then
program.
there's a need
Right,
for a
because they're,
SICA there, so now we have to allocate the money for the SICA.
or if they're an instructor for them as well. Like if they're not submitting needs because they need a SICA in there, but also SICAs have the right to be OST instructors as well. but their pay is different from a teacher rate, so that's why we need to.
Comes from a different bucket.
Exactly, so that's why we need, so we're transferring over from the OST line over to another line, to pay SECAS. So that would be in the amount of $2,000.
And so that one's a request,
Yes,
And OST stands for?
out of school time,
like the extracurricular programs.
correct. So I don't know how it's been done before, do you guys wait for me to read all of them, because I have a
I
long
think
list?
each one has to be a motion.
Separately, yeah.
Okay.
So if you make a motion, then one of us second it, and then we vote on it.
Can I tell you what I wrote down and you tell me if this is accurate?
Okay.
Motion to transfer funds from the OST out of school time of $2,000 to pay for SECA after school programs.
Yes,
And who seconds?
I'll second. Is there any discuss, well, we've already had our discussion, so all in favor? Motion passes.
thank you. Cameras. So, in our internal accounting, I was looking through our internal accounting, and the revenue that we receive from building leases, like programs like the Apollo program, the YMCA, I found some funds in there that we can utilize to help start funding the security cameras. So what I'm asking for is a book transfer from account number 21310, that's building lease income, and transferring into our budget line, which is 24891. That's the number. 124-55005-119-010-002239 in the amount of $20,000 to install cameras within the building.
And so on that, the CPS estimate was 45.
Correct.
And they asked for a ranking. And there's the possibility that CPS has security money.
But there's no guarantee as to when that would happen.
And so we can fund a little less than half of it, and we can provide CPS what we think our most important ones are.
Correct.
And they can use our portion of the funds as best as possible.
Right, and I mean, my focal point for the future would be like, well, we can always look at the revenue streams that we're getting from these programs for the future to see if we can fund the rest of it. I can reach out to OFP, reaching out to OFP and making that a priority too as well, like putting it in their radar to help fund the rest of it. I mean, obviously the dream scenario is CPS, giving us the rest of the funding. But I mean, hopefully, by doing this, maybe that will help push them a little.
I can just ask in the process of prioritizing that, I understand they already did, but to think of it in terms of capacity.
Right.
So I don't know if they need to add any switches or anything, but it's, you have the ability to say, on year one, there may be 6 cameras, but there's the box that can hold 64 cameras. And then in year 2, you buy 6 more cameras and so on and so forth.
Right.
Versus just buying a box that can only support the 6 cameras.
Right.
So motion, second.
Can I read what I wrote?
Yes.
Tell me if this is accurate. Motions to transfer, principal overload motions to transfer funds from the building lease income into Peirce school budget in the amount of $20,000 to install cameras in locations to be determined. Is that too much?
And
There's locations recommended
by-
by.
Location recommended by
by-
CPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would say it.
Or we can ask the senator once.
Yeah.
To sponsor it.
Yeah, I also want to mention, like, I have also here, in the second part, one thing my clerk mentioned to me was you might, even with the 20,000 you're requesting, you might have to have a line for the installment fee. Like, again, she wasn't sure if it was gonna if it would just be that one budget line, but she did add it on there as well, like the second budget line, because there's one for services rendered, but there's also the installation, line as well, so, but that's the same money that we're asking for, so I don't know if you wanna add
Sure.
/ installation.
Doesn't hurt.
And I can give you then the budget number for the budget. But it's the same amount. And what I understood from them was all the funding that all they were requesting included the installation fee.
Do you want to second it?
I'll second. And we've had our discussion, all in favor? Motion passes.
Next one, student field trips. I would like to motion from taking, this is gonna be two separate transactions for this one for field trip. From the same account number, 24205, that's the student field trip account. That would go into Fund 124-54210, 119010, 00239 in the amount of $10,000. And this would be to create purchase order for buses for field trips. So when students pay for e-pay, that goes directly into internal accounts every 30 school days. So what we're asking is, again, book transfer to move the funds that have been paid by students into our budget line designated for, to provide the bus services to pay the vendor.
Yeah, it's accounts receivable, those accounts payable.
So Ms. Borrell motions to transfer funds from the student field trip account into the school budget to create purchase orders for buses for future field trips.
All right, same
Second.
motion, you got a second? All right. And then all in favor? Motion passes, next.
Student field trip again, 24205, to line 124-54205, 119010, 002239 in the amount of $5,200. This is to create purchase orders for admissions to the Indiana Dunes sixth grade field trip. So again, students have paid an advance through e-pay, and now we need to transfer those funds into Oracle.
Motion, I'll do the second after Rocky's finished typing.
Ms. Borrell motions to transfer funds from the student field trip account into the school budget to create purchase orders for sixth grade field trip to Indiana Dunes. That makes sense?
Yes.
A second? All right.
All in favor? Motion passes.
So I'm gonna skip this one because I think there is a question about the playworks that you guys brought up, really valuable questions, and I want to go back to the vendor, and so I'm not going to request, so I have requested 12,500, but I think also for the sake of, we need to be wise, so I'm not going to submit this request, and I'll update this, so, because originally I was gonna ask for that money to do the recess reboot, but just looking at the logistics of it, I just don't think it's wise. So if there's something that they can offer short term at a lower cost, or whether it's the demo, which is free, the demo's free, or, something like, that's reasonable, like, I think that would be more. So in the next LSC meeting, I will bring that back.
Okay, and I like the idea of a demo on a warm weather day.
Correct.
With asking staff to watch the demo and see if they feel this is something that should be brought back.
I like that.
Yeah, on a day when the kids are gonna be nuts outside.
Right, for sure. I got two more. This is, requesting to move, funds this is from the Friends of Peirce field trip account, the 28104. This would be going to budget line 124-54205, 119-010, 002239 in the amount of $6,025. This would be to create POs for admissions to the Indiana Dunes, the other half of the funds for the Indiana Dunes, because it's a pretty penny. So we're gonna pull, FOP is given the rest of the funds to be able to pay off that. So it's a FOP donations for students who cannot pay.
So we're taking two sources, so there's two motions going to pay for the field trip.
And both of those are 6,000?
This one, the first one that I had mentioned for Dunes was, let me just go back. It was 5,200, the first one. This one's 6,025.
Got it.
And again, the focal point is that it's a donation from FOP for students who cannot pay.
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes. Last one?
Last one. 28104, again, FOP field trip, going to funding source 124-5210, 119010, 002239 in the amount of $3,975. This is to create a PO to pay buses for the EE and the Beans field trip. Again, a donation for the students who cannot pay.
Motion, second from Sonia, all in favor? Motion passes.
And I promise I'm gonna do better next time. Like, I think I have a better idea of how to make this quicker for everyone. But thank you for being patient with me on this.
Our next agenda item is community group reports. Rocky, I know you can see the email. I don't know if there's anything in there.
No, only from FOP, which I will put their minutes into, I'll put their minutes into our minutes, so if you wanna read them.
You should have gotten something from Peirce.
Do you want to give us the short version?
Sonia wrote a really, really good report, so I would not do it justice.
Okay.
And Sonia Henriquez?
No, I didn't get it. Let's see, Sonia. Or maybe she sent it to Matthew. Matthew forgot to send it to me. Sonia Henriquez.
Okay, well, Rocky, you could follow up to make sure that it gets published with our minutes.
Oh, wait,
Found it?
I think so. Yep, found it. All right, great. All right, so they had some prior events. December 11th, they met with Principal Avila. December 16th, they met with others. PPOC meeting with school admin. They discussed upcoming events and details, including the Valentine's Day dance, holiday breakfast, holiday gifting. They met December 19th. The last day of school before winter break, holiday gifting occurred. They did organize holiday gifts for the teachers and for the staff. Upcoming events, January 16th, they have a meeting, like 45 minutes Field House. There's a Valentine's Day dance coming up, which I forgot the date of. The
February 6th now.
Thank you. And they had a temporary usage permit fundraising agreement that have been submitted. And they're working on bylaws.
So we don't have any others, but I did have there's an event from one of the affinity groups. I can't remember if it's Peirce Pride Givers or Diverse Learners, but I was invited. Yeah, so there's a gender inclusive workshop that I believe the Peirce Pride Givers is advertising out, but I didn't see an official report. It was just a text message that it was out. It's being hosted by Lurie Children's on Friday the 16th and Wednesday the 21st. We don't have anything else from community groups. We could move to committee reports. I'm not aware, but if we have a report starting with PPLC.
PPLC met on January 8th. We discussed financial assistance for field trip, which Mr. Gill already went over. We got an ILT update. We are working on graduated rubrics. There were no tech requests. The follow-up about the district sped report, did you guys talk about that? Denial of the Zika or?
We're still looking at it with the case managers because I would like to file another appeal. Like, they're still working out the schedules to see if we're within that reason to file an appeal, because in I believe this was December, yeah, I shared it that they had denied it. This is before me, obviously.
Sure.
So Ms. Muntz was still here.
There's staff parking concerns. Parents are blocking staff in. They're double parking in the lots, and so then staff can't get out, and teachers have been late to pick up kids after school, their own children that they gave birth to, so that's kind of difficult. So we're asking parents and families not to double park in the parking lots.
They shouldn't be parking in the parking
We just got
lots.
some color printers, so that's been really rock star to get that, and now we're all hooked up to them, so that's been really nice. We are discussing the high quality math curriculum, so that's gonna happen during the PD in February. We'll take a look at that. Kim talked about it today. We're meeting with, Envision, Eureka, iReady, and then we'll look at Skyline. And that's it. It was a great meeting.
And about the parking too, like, I know, and Nicole, maybe that's something that, like, wanted to get more sawhorses,
Mhm.
like, maybe
Yeah.
need be.
So
I'm gonna
question,
have to go out there.
Coach Jennifer, she puts a block in the morning. Why don't we block it in the afternoon as well?
Yeah.
On a pickup times.
So that's what I'm gonna look into seeing, you know, to make sure we have staff available to be able to do that. But I also wanna, I did request that when I met with the other woman about getting updated sawhorses.
Mhm.
When was this after?
16th and 21st.
If somebody's
Oh,
there though, then you
yeah.
have to get the secret signal and then you can get on. But, yeah, so a couple teachers were with kids and stuff.
You wanna put like spike strips with a key card.
Mhm.
Good calls.
Okay, I don't know if we received a report from the bilingual advisory committee. I don't think there's anything in the inbox.
I don't see anything.
Then, do we want to do equity committee?
Sure. We did meet on Monday, to talk about the upcoming Climate and Culture Forum. The forum is currently scheduled for February 18th, as Principal Avila said, but we are very likely moving it to February 19th. So the announcement should be coming soon about that, so it doesn't conflict with Ash Wednesday. We're excited about how this forum is coming together. Folks are going to be able to experience restorative justice practices in circles, so it won't just be like, here's the definition. It's going to be very experiential. And we're going to be out on turf flyering and hoping to, you know, have our biggest crowd yet at this forum. We had a great initial planning meeting. Myself, Jess Tansey, who's taking the lead on this forum, Principal Avila, and Ben McKay from the district, to kind of talk about the vision, the shared vision for this forum. So it's been really great to collaborate on this, and I think that's it about the forum. So, yep, coming up next month. And then we talked a bit about like two topics that came up on Monday. One was just like wanting to follow up on the student voice issues that CC keeps raising about, you know, the tardy policy, bathroom policy, the gender neutral bathroom. And so appreciate those updates today on those topics. Also, it came up, the conversation about wanting to make sure that we're including kind of the, you know, anti-racism in our vision for the school. Principal Zamy had like a letter, on the website to our school that talks about anti-racism being one of our core values, but now that with the transition, that has been lost, you know, that's not on the website anymore. So the group wanted to kind of flag that the word equity is not really a replacement for the word anti-racism, and we want to make sure that that continues to be centered as well. And we talked a bit about fees for like trips and graduation and things like that, especially in the upper grades, and kind of maybe what the need for kind of more support for families in those upper grades when it comes to all the different fees that, you know, come at them those last couple of years of grammar school. And maybe something that can be, maybe we can do something around the DC trip where we're collaborating with FOP or like fundraising as a school community or something around that trip so that it's not such a barrier for folks and that everybody can participate.
I know they believe there is a subsidy for Washington.
Yeah.
If memory serves me right. So I know Mr. Lee was helping assist with that, so he's overseeing that.
That's
But I agree with you, like.
Yeah, some more
Yeah.
conversations
Yeah,
about
sure.
that. The equity committee is interested in kind of helping with that in any way that they can.
sure.
And I'm sure FOP would be as well. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, I want to skip principal evaluation unless we have something we need to speak about. And I'll go to new business. I think we've already hit item I, the updates on financial assistance for field trips. Is there anything you need to add?
No, I mean, like, the only one thing I would say is, I forgot to mention my principal's report, there's also a checkbox, for parents if they wanna like support families like are in need, like there's that option as well.
Is that new?
That is new.
I believe that is new.
Yeah.
So last year there was the I need
I don't
support,
recall.
but last year there wasn't a I want to provide support.
I know that, again, that's what we're trying to mitigate, to ensure we're all on the same page, that's why, making sure that the permission slips universal and all the language is, common and current, like, consistent throughout the building. And putting those instructions to staff as well, like making sure this is the process to follow.
Yeah, I can say in previous years, some staff wasn't aware of what to do when a parent wanted to sponsor someone else. They just kind of fumbled through what the process
So
was.
that's one thing I'm trying to mitigate, to make sure,
Yeah.
like, the staff is aware, so I'm gonna put that in my updates,
Yeah.
please follow, these are the protocols, and we're like updating that too, to ensure that it's communicated, consistently,
I've
not
seen
just one
that,
time.
I've seen that language when my kids bring their trips, the trip slips home. There's always a box on mine that says, if you want to
Right.
help, you can.
Right, but I think,
Right, the last round missed that box.
Right.
Now it's back, but I don't think there's been a box that says I want to sponsor.
so that's
I
why I
think
wanna
that's
make
great.
sure that it's like, same permission slip for everyone, universal, this is how we're gonna do it, let's keep it consistent, to make sure that, that teachers are doing it differently, that the options are all the same for everybody.
And what
everybody
happens
knows
when
they
you
can help.
check that? Like when you say, I want to help provide financial scholarships for the field trip, what happens then?
So it's like they would, like, depending on the fee, they would pay the fee for their child and the fee for anyone, but I mean, but that is, in Aspen.
Yeah, so the clerks would have to add an additional fee.
Right, like, they would have to add an additional fee.
Yeah.
So
Now,
when the teacher gets that, they have to like do some sort of
they
follow-up.
would send it to the office staff,
Okay.
they evaluate, they report to administration who's, asking for support and who's giving, that additional support as well.
Yeah, so like if you said, it's a field trip and you said, I need help paying for it, and if I pulled out and said I would do it, then the teacher would need to say, Nicole has asked for support and Erica said they'll
Right.
support it, and then they'll bill Eric's account.
Mhm.
I know at the end of the last meeting, kind of after the meeting, some of us were talking about a concern about putting that money into Aspen and like CPS then having control over it and maybe redirecting it. And then said like FOP being a better place. That was not my
Right.
comments, but I heard that. So I just want, is that like a concern that we have or?
I mean, currently, like,
Yeah.
as far as I've seen and heard, like, I don't know if they would do that,
Yeah.
because it does roll over in like past experiences. That money, like, let's say, there's fundraising for 8th grade trip, that money does roll over to the next year if there's anything left over.
Okay.
So, I mean, from what I've experienced, like, I've never seen that happen before.
But a lot of it is used within a
Yeah.
month or 60
A lot of it
days,
is.
right?
It is basically to pay everything that we need to pay. The one thing about e-pay is you gotta wait 30 school days for it to drop. So it's like, so let's say December 1st, an e-pay line is open. So from let's say parents have until December 30th, let's say, for example. In that time frame, they submit the payment, but it's not gonna show in general accounts until 30 school days after it was
January
initiated.
31st.
So-
see it.
Well, actually, no, it'd be January 1st.
Okay.
It's that time, it was in that 30-day time frame.
So should we be maybe proactive and having in Aspen a line saying, instead of checking a box and then the teacher has to request it and somebody has to input it, just having a line saying, here's for my kid, and everybody should have an option.
That's where Friends of Peirce says, like, if you just want to donate money without being like something specific, and Friends of Peirce can manage the money versus
Right.
just
I get it, but like,
checks
I think it's
showing up.
easier, like, if it's in Aspen, like, just,
But that would,
everybody should have an option to, if you want to, you can
right, but that would be
put
a
a couple bucks there.
district-wide decision, like,
Oh, really?
you know, for that to, because they would be for all schools then, like,
I
again.
didn't know
they
if
would have-
we choose our own.
No, that, we don't,
Whatever we wanted.
Aspen's not designed by us. Aspen is designed and adopted by CPS. So it's the same formatting for everybody.
Yeah, you also wanna watch that there's fundraising limits direct to the school. That's why we have a Friends of Peirce. It's CPS limits what the school's allowed to collect.
Right.
So,
So I'm wondering, like, on the form, should parents say if they want to provide financial scholarships, like how much, or else to avoid like a back and forth afterwards?
well, I read this as like trip specific. So like if this was the form for a trip that was $50 and you said, I
Yeah.
wanna support this trip. But then if it's for two people, it's
Like
like
how many
$100.
people?
Yeah, it's a great
Like
question.
how many are you signing
I
up
can-
for? How many
I can look into
scholarships?
that.
Is it a number of scholarships? Does some parent want to pay for the whole trip for everybody? Like, what do
That's a good question.
Yeah,
That's about
that's
it.
logistics.
you?
No, it's valid, because like, what if a parent comes like, I would like to pay for two kids, like,
Yeah.
in addition to my kid? It's a valid question. So I can look into it.
Otherwise, it's like a back and forth.
Yeah, for
Second
sure.
after, right? So try to minimize that.
And then, did we ever address the students that,
Yeah, there
the student that
the
was not able
DC
to,
trip.
Mr. Lee, yeah,
we did, okay.
he did address that, yes.
Cool, thank you. All right, our next item here is to pick a date for the LSC candidate forum. What's on here is the 23rd to the 27th. That is a Monday through a Friday. My recommendation is a Wednesday, because a lot of our meetings are already on Wednesdays. And Wednesdays, I don't have to pick up my son.
Just checking to see what's going on that Wednesday.
I think that's,
There's a Friends of
23rd.
Peirce committee meeting at 6:30, but that's offsite.
But I think some of the
Probably
Friends of
want to
Peirce
avoid that, yeah. Let's avoid that.
members are applying, I think I saw
Yeah.
somebody there.
Okay, so then let me check the 24th. There's nothing else going on the 24th after school hours. And the 26th as well. Like there's basketball practice like normal, but it's after, I mean, I would say like, you know, the forum should probably start like at 5:30 would be mine.
And it's
Commitment.
over.
Yeah, because basketball will be cleared by 5. It gives us enough time to set up. That would be my suggestion. Monday and Friday, I would not suggest, probably not the best day to do a forum. I would either say Tuesday or Thursday of that week would probably be the best selection, considering that there's a Friends of Peirce committee meeting on the 25th. Thoughts?
I look for Thursdays on my personal calendar this week.
But it's not an LSC meeting, so
Yeah,
it is
it's a
just,
forum.
this is a date that we want to host it, and we need to have a number of people who are willing to help coordinate it.
Thursday's fine. Yeah, Thursday works.
All right, let's call it, 2/26. 5:30 is what we generally do for our meetings. Yeah, I won't be able to attend in person, but,
But again, it's not like an LLC.
yeah,
If we don't have quorum, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
no, this is just,
Because it's a candidate, I mean, I've been on the opposite end where I'm like leading it, like the meeting leader, so it's not an LSC meeting.
yeah, I mean, it's like more like the equity forum.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, February 26th, 5:30. I actually don't know if we need to do a motion. Well, yeah, because it says vote on the date, so yeah, we do. February 26th, which is a Thursday, 5:30 PM. And I will make the motion. Second. Oh, let's give Stephanie one. She hasn't had one yet. And then, all in favor, or any other discussion? No, all in favor?
I'm staying, I'm not available for it.
Do you want it to happen?
Yeah.
There you go. All right, motion passes.
Just stirring it up.
Yep, item C here, Peirce Day of Giving It Hop Leaf. I'm assuming we have to accept it. Right? I don't have on Matthew's agenda here, there needs to be a vote. But I'm assuming that we do have to do a vote to say that we're gonna accept the fundraiser. But it's not on site, so we're not voting to
Right.
use the space.
Right.
So I don't know if this counts, this is just an announcement.
Yeah, this is just an
All right, so I'm gonna call that, it should be under the announcements, so February 1st is Hop Leaf's Day of Giving. They donate a portion of their profits, it's a big fundraiser, they're a big supporter, they've been doing it longer than I've been here, and they have delicious beverages. And great food. All right, under new business, the next one is items that we want to put on our agenda. I want to put making sure that we've got a plan for our forum. Given how close it is, our next meeting, our February meeting to the forum, I don't think that we can have a discussion there, right? I think our February meeting, we need to say yes or no, this is our plan. So with that, I think a handful of us now need to just say, I'll help plan it.
It's pretty much structured already. You make a statement.
So, right, you know, someone to open the door, someone to make sure people come in, someone to turn on the camera, then everyone makes a statement. I don't know if there's a Q&A or not.
That's what I was gonna ask, like, I don't know, all schools are very different and everything, like, you know, I know in Inter-American, we had like a candidate with a little placard, and they would just sit there and wait their turn to give their statement, and we did like a brief Q&A. I don't know.
Yeah, when I've done them, they've been remote.
Yeah, when I was a guy in them, it was remote for me, so I did it with my son in my lap.
Yeah.
We've gotten past that now, where a lot more
Yeah,
things are in
for sure.
person. So I think at this point, we just need 1 or 2 people who will help plan it. And I'm willing to help plan it, even though I can't be here.
I was,
Did anyone else raise their
help with the
hands?
logistics, tables and all
You'll be out of the country.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Can I go?
I was gonna say, that's
Is this your big-
Yeah.
All right, let's not waste too much time here. We've got 2 people. We can figure out the
Yeah,
logistics
we
of
can
this.
figure- yeah,
There's
we'll
nothing
find-
special, and we'll just
Yeah.
set a time, we'll figure it out. And then just the next meeting on the agenda, we'll say, here's the
Well,
plan, and we can approve
We
it.
can touch base with Matthew too, and just like, you know, get together and plan it out.
All right, that's the end of that. Is there anything else that we should add to our February meeting? All right, then we've got old business here. Let's go as quick as we can responsibly. Assistant principal, we have it. I think that item is done. Thank you again.
Do you wanna say anything?
Do you want me to say anything? Or would you like to-
I'm the
Now I'm
one,
gonna
I'm the
require
one
you to
who's
sit
next
down.
in the size, I'm still doing it, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm Jessica, I go by my first name with adults, so please don't mind, I don't mind my first name with adults. But coolest is how you, my last name, I've been trying to teach the kids how to say my last name, because they look at it and they're kind of like, yeah. It is Greek, I am not Greek, I married somebody who is got a Greek last name, but doesn't actually Greek, so. It's book coolest, it's like the coolest with a B, so I say book coolest, that's how I teach the kiddos, they're very excited. I've met lots of classrooms. I'm going into classrooms on Friday morning in first and kindergarten and first grade, there's everybody who wants me to say hi to the kiddos. I've been giving them about 5 questions in the classroom, they ask me whatever they want. So they've asked me about what my favorite flavor ice cream is, what kind of my, you know, why I want to be a principal. I'm like, I'm not a principal, I'm an assistant principal. So they're trying to give me Mr. Avila's job, and I keep refusing. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been really great. It's been a great welcome. Everybody's been very kind. The office upstairs is a little warm, so there is an oscillating fan that will be in there really soon because it's the same room as the MDR. Or MDF, sorry.
Oh.
So it's the server room with a wall, so there's no windows. So, but it's very cozy right now, so I have a fan. Oh, no, there's not, it's sitting on the table over there.
Oh, okay.
I went home on Monday and said, oh, I'm buying a fan. So it is a 90 another one. Oh, thank you. But it's been a really great welcome. I'm really excited to be here. It's really, I mean, I've known the Peirce, been around the Peirce community growing up because I went to Sullivan High School. I am a semi-local person, but I am a tiger. I'm sorry if anybody's a bulldog. I'm sorry, I am a tiger. But I am very happy to So I'm married, I have 3 kids. I didn't really talk about my kids or my husband during my interview process because I always forget about them. A little bit, not much. My husband and I just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And we took our second trip in their entire marriage without kids. Because they're all out of the house because they are 22, 20, and 18. So it was our first time we could get out of the house and take a trip without them, without worrying about having a babysitter, which was really strange. Married, 3 kids. They're all older. They're all boys, and they look like very big linemen. They're very, very tall, 6'5" men.
Wow.
So I am the shortest in the house, and I am not a short woman. I am 5'8". So it's a lot of fun. So I have a very busy life, but it's slowed down a little bit now that my kids are older. So it's great. Yeah, that's a little bit of me in a nutshell, and I love to talk, so I can keep going forever.
I'm gonna start with, thank you very much.
I will mention too, I wanted to plan a meet and greet for the community as well as parent community from Ms. McCullough's too as
Coffee
well.
is great. I mean.
So we're gonna, kind of like what I do with
Just
my
go there for the
coffee meet and
conference.
greet, we're gonna schedule something for her as well.
Our next item on old business here is a reminder to the LSC election. The deadline is the 20th. That's coming up really soon. There's workshops on the 27th, February 3rd in Spanish, and February 10th in English. We talked about candidate forum. Was there another item you had for candidate forum?
Yes, what does that mean, candidate workshops?
But it's CPS is running this,
Yeah.
emailing these things
Yeah.
out that.
Oh, okay,
You
so
said you got
this is like
that.
support for folks running, okay, gotcha.
Like
Okay.
informational, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say that in addition to the LSC candidate forum, I reached out to FOP and back to see if they wanted to host candidate forums so that there's multiple opportunities for the school community to get to know our candidates. FOP has said an enthusiastic yes, so I'm working with them on that. It's likely gonna be at Understudy. They have the monthly coffee and community on the first Friday of the month, so it'll either be like February, or I guess, yeah, it'll either be February or March, coffee and community, and it'll be like a chance to meet the candidates. So if you're running, save the dates and get your spiel ready. And then the president was talking to the board to see if there was a back meeting that maybe, would want to do the same thing, where the candidates can come to the back meeting and, introduce themselves. So I'm kind of just like organizing that. We might do like a 1-pager with all 3 opportunities, and if there's other, like, obvious places that, I'm missing that we might want to invite the candidates to and add it to the flyer, like, let me know, and I'd be happy to add that and organize it so folks can meet the candidates. And last I saw, it looks like we're having competitive elections, but it looks like
How many candidates do we have?
we've got more than 6 parents, and I think we have more
Check
than
with
2
the
communities,
teacher. I'll ask Ms. Suarez.
That's good.
I'll ask, I haven't checked the teacher count recently, but I can ask Ms. Suarez.
But this would just be for parents and community reps,
Yeah.
because
Oh.
like the parents don't vote for teachers.
Yeah.
So, so it's exciting.
Yeah, why not? On the map, some of the schools have teachers, or it doesn't. Have you seen that?
I haven't looked.
Like, if you look at that map where you can see all
Yeah.
the schools, some of them have like teachers,
Right.
ours doesn't, I don't know.
Just kind of as people, I think this is the first year where as people apply, they're popping up on the
Yeah.
website. So that's kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because I think before, like, you had to actually go into the dashboard, I believe.
Yeah.
But Ms. Suarez is Sally, she's the one coordinating it, so I can check in with her.
Next item, election day, March 18th, no school, right?
The parent teacher conferences, yes.
CPS hosts generally for elections.
Yes.
Parent teacher conferences as well. Is it also the 18th or is it the 19th?
It's 18th, yeah. The elections and parent teacher conference are on the same day.
We're gonna have a busy school.
February?
March.
March.
Okay.
So it's right before spring break, yes.
Can I ask, I know Peirce has been a polling place in the past, and it was a question mark if it was gonna be again this year.
For, the primaries,
Yeah,
I have not received anything.
interesting.
Usually, I think by now, usually I would have received
Yeah.
information, because they usually do it in
Yeah,
advance.
Board of Elections. would have
Yeah,
said
they
something by
usually
now.
send, because we had it in American, they send it like maybe like a month and a half, 2 months before.
Interesting,
So
okay.
we
Can you
receive
imagine the
it.
traffic?
So I'll try to find out then like where our new polling place is, and then maybe we
Right.
can circulate that in some more of those folks
Sure.
too, cause
Yeah, and, yeah,
people are
that,
used to coming here.
and again, one other thing, if maybe they don't have my name yet. Because I'm still getting
So maybe it
emails
is here.
from AIC funds, like,
It can be
you know,
bouncing back.
it can be
from
bouncing, but
Florida's
I haven't
MP.
received anything yet.
That might be
Okay.
worth just reaching out to.
So I'm like, I'm just hoping they don't show up like, hey.
I'm sure that CPS and Board of Elections aren't sharing a database, so.
But I believe they have to, because I remember in your American, like CPS declared to us, but I can ask my chief
Yeah,
if she has any information on that, if we're gonna be a polling place. Cause usually they have to notify the networks as well,
Okay,
is what I recall.
Yeah.
I'll ask also, I'll ask Board of
Thank you.
Elections and
I
let me know
know
what you find out and vice
they've
versa.
announced yet,
And then we can
though,
let
'cause-
folks know.
I live in a polling place and they haven't announced anything yet. Maybe Board of Elections just hasn't, I don't know, but
Maybe,
it's
I
worth
don't know.
asking.
No, it's not a bad, it's never hurts to ask, right?
Okay, almost finished with our agenda. The next item here is culture and climate next steps. I think the principal's report went through a lot of that. I don't know if there's anything else to add
Mhm.
on next steps for culture and climate. Then,
Can I just request that we get this in like s'more, which I'm sure you're already gonna do, but like the culture and climate presentation?
Oh,
The
the,
two-pager?
Yeah, like the 2-pager, like the goals
the
and all
goals and
that,
culture,
yeah.
yeah.
That'd be great.
we have another public participation. Did we receive any messages?
Yeah.
We have in person, Lauren is ready to go.
Lauren Klinger, I just wanted to, you guys are talking about the forum for the LSC candidates. I just wanted to put it out there that, if the LSC office allows you to do it, that, doing a remote forum, I think levels the playing field for all of the candidates. It also allows parents more opportunity to actually watch and participate, especially if there's like a question and answer. The last LSC forum that was actually remote, it was the most clear and everybody was able to like hear everybody because everybody was remote. Just wanted to put it out there for your consideration, because when some people are in person and some people are not, actually hearing everybody speak is not easy to do, and I feel like this election is really important. Just putting it out there. Thank you.
We have our check on norms and then our motion to adjourn. Okay.
Right, announcements.
Oh, did I miss the oh, right, and you had an announcement, sorry.
I do. Just one announcement briefly. Wearing my hat in my day job at the Alder's office. I've got a traffic study for Bryn Mawr that I printed and brought here. Principal Avila has been on emails with neighbors about this. It includes like some recommendations from CDOT for pedestrian safety improvements on Bryn Mawr. Including the thing that impacts our school community the most is a potential raised crosswalk across Bryn Mawr on the west side of Glenwood. So like from the church basically to the school. So that is something that CDOT's proposing. A raised crosswalk it acts essentially as a speed bump. So it slows down cars. It allows pedestrians to be a little raised and kind of more eye level with vehicles. It's a proven pedestrian safety measure. And it's something that we are going to, in the Alder's office, put on the participatory budget ballot. for the community to vote on if they want it. So these things aren't cheap, it's about $120,000. We have $1 million in infrastructure funds to spend, and the way that we decide how to spend that $1 million is through voting in the community. So, in the next couple weeks, we should have that ballot ready. I'll share it with Principal Avila to put in the s'more. And folks will have the opportunity to vote, on, if they want this improvement or not. And you can see there'll be about like 9 other projects that folks can vote on. So we'll have more than one winner, like of the 9. We'll just pick winners until we hit that $1 million mark, basically. And then part of this that is kind of less directly adjacent to Peirce, but is part of this traffic study are some bump outs at the intersections of Wayne and Bryn Mawr, Bryn Mawr and Lakewood, and Bryn Mawr and Magnolia. So those bump outs, the idea there is to increase visibility of pedestrians crossing Bryn Mawr. It allows you to put the stop sign on the bump out to make the stop sign more visible. There's a lot of complaints that folks don't stop at those stop signs on Bryn Mawr. So that will be part of the vote as well. So just want to let folks know that that's coming, and we'll try to get it in front of as many people as we can.
Thank you.
Somebody got hit last week.
Oh,
Pedestrian. And they were okay.
On Bryn Mawr?
And Glenwood, actually. No, Glenwood, not Bryn Mawr, but still, it's all
Yeah.
similar things. Just too many people trying to go too fast.
pushing.
So that's my announcement. Thank you.
Check on norms. I'm skipping to number 2 where it says be flexible and respectful of other people's time and decisions. And I'm gonna skip to the end where it says trust the process is ongoing. With that, I wanna make a motion to adjourn.
I was gonna say, Lunar New Year.
We need an actual Lunar New Year announcement at this point, but I don't know.
I
Oh,
understand
actually,
that we're
this is the
that
most
close.
timely one.
I know.
Now what?
Rocky, I've got 8:15, motion to adjourn. Sony got the second. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Nice to see your, see that schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, used to it.